back to another episode of the What Really Matters podcast. This is episode number 8. I'm Chris, and this is Terrence. Terrence, go ahead and kick us off with our topic tonight.
Yes, first I want to say hi and thanks for tuning in again. And Chris is such a professional, right? You always open these things so well.
Thank you.
You open the show so well.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so we're thinking of what to talk about tonight, and so I thought about a simple question that I often ask myself. How do we draw the line between thinking of others too much or focusing on others too much and thinking too little of ourselves, right? We always want to be helpful and be of service to other people, but when is it too much? When is it too much to where you neglect yourself? I think that's probably a nice topic of conversation.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It's a good question, and I think like simple answer would be it's a dance, and we're always dancing. I think because in life, if we're producing value, it's not for us, it's for other people, and then as a result, we receive help from the value we create for others. So like, for example, it's like you have a medical practice, right? You add value to other people's lives, and in return, they pay you money, right? Mm-hmm. Same with me buying houses. And so there's a value exchange, but also it's becoming valuable yourself, where you have to focus on you. And I think that's a way to look at it. There's many facets of that, looking at yourself, like personal development, engaging with other people. Like, is that like, for me, like my social battery can be drained if I'm engaging with people constantly all day long. So then in the evening time, I'm like, I just want to chill. Instead of, I want to go out and do more socializing. I'm like, I'm good. So I think there's always a dance, and sometimes there may be more of one than the other. But I think that colors life in a very fun way, because you get these experiences with people, and also you get to know who you are.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So I'm thinking of what my thoughts are about that topic. I think sometimes we help others or we serve others out of selfish reasons. And the selfish reason is because when we help other people, it makes us happy.
Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes.
So I mean, there are people who serve, go to church, do all these things, do mission trips and do all these things, and you're serving other people constantly till you wear yourself out, because the ulterior motive there is because it makes them feel good, and they want to feel good, so that's the way they do it, right? And then the flip side also is there are the other set of people who just keep doing self-love and doing everything for themselves because it makes them feel good. But the dilemma there is, if you constantly do self-love and just do everything to make yourself happy, sometimes that kind of joy doesn't last. And so, or it's not as meaningful over time. It's like we talked about the ice cream analogy a few episodes back, right? It's like, if I have an ice cream cone and I keep eating that ice cream cone and I enjoy it so much, then I get another ice cream cone and gobble it down. By the third ice cream cone, I'll be so sick of it.
Right. Diminishing returns.
Yeah, and then I'm not happy anymore, and then I want more because I'm not happy anymore. Then I want more ice cream, but then I get the fourth ice cream cone and it doesn't make me happy anymore. That's how I look at that part where we just do self-love.
Mm.
On the other hand, if I keep giving away my ice cream because it makes me happy to give you an ice cream, and I can say, oh, I've been so generous, I took care of Chris, I gave Chris my favorite ice cream.
Thank you so much, Terrence. That was
Yeah,
good.
yeah, but then if I keep giving it to you and I don't have anything left for myself, then that's not good either.
Right. Yeah, you never get to eat your ice cream.
Yeah, so I never get to enjoy what ice cream tastes like. So where is the line that you draw, right?
Yeah. Well, I can speak from my own experience, and that's about all.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is the whole thing. You speak about your
Yeah.
experience. That's how we learn from each other, you know?
In my life, I have not always, but I would find myself where I would give so much to other people that I would be exhausted.
Yeah.
And that would then dampen my mood on how I engaged with people. And what I didn't realize was I was really I needed a break, and I needed to take care of myself, basically, self-care. And for the last several years, I've been really focused on how do I take care of myself and other people.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two distinctions. One of them is altruistically selfish, and then selfishly altruistic, which means selfishly altruistic is I'm serving others to take care of me, but by taking care of me, that takes care of you.
Mm-hmm.
And then the altruistically selfish is by taking care of you, that takes care of me.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a dance, I think, and with that is checking in and knowing and learning who are you and how do you engage with people, like what really matters to you.
Yeah.
And these things that really matter to you, we need to take them seriously, and we can modify them over time. But seriously in the sense that self-care matters to me, but I would find myself at times neglecting myself. So when I take the time to address who I am and how I need to recharge, then I start to say, hey, maybe I don't go to that engagement. Maybe I just relax, allow a little bit of downtime, because I'm very upbeat and I like to be active and in commitments and stuff, and that can be a lot. And so, but when I'm in those commitments, I'm present with them. I enjoy them. I enjoy the contribution that I am in whatever capacity when I show up. And I think the more I've learned who I am and how I operate, the better I can dance. It's a practice, right? It's like you just build a skill at knowing when to take care of yourself and when to take care of others. When you're introduced to new situations, like having a baby, for example, like that presents a whole new challenge and situation that I'm not obviously familiar with or understand, but I could see how that situation would modify, because your child needs your attention pretty much all the time unless they're asleep. So do you get that time to yourself? Not really in those moments, the child's growing up. So, so I think it's a dance and it's a skill, and over time you get better at the practice, and you get, for me, it's like being understanding of myself and saying that it's not a bad thing that you need to take downtime for yourself, or it's not a bad thing that you want to go be with other people. Like, I love that. Let's do it. So, yeah.
I guess what you said there is I mean, you got it perfectly, where you tell yourself there's nothing wrong about taking care of yourself, right? I mean, we all want to be helping others, serving others, doing stuff for other people, but some of us have that notion that if we stop to take care of ourselves, then we're neglecting our duties, right? So
Yes.
that what you said is perfect in that we need to remind ourselves there is nothing wrong in taking care of ourselves. In fact, we should take care of ourselves, because if you are tired and exhausted, you're ineffective in helping others anyway. It's like the whole airplane. It's a whole airplane thing, right? They tell you when
your
there's
mask on first.
put your mask on first when the plane's about to crash before you put somebody else's mask on, because if you pass out, you're useless.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but for the sake of the audience, we don't know what the answer is, because
Yeah.
we didn't talk
We're
about
learning.
this. we're just now we're just having this conversation, trying to figure this out. You know.
Yeah.
This is a conversation we're trying to learn from each other.
Yeah, and I think too, like in the context of what really matters is, do you take the time to know yourself in a way that you find what really matters for you? Like, what is that dance? Sometimes, like, that dance may be, and I say the dance, the relationship between taking time for yourself and taking time to contribute to others. You may, for the next 10 years, contribute most of the time to other people. But then there may be a 3-year span where you're more isolated, where you really like learn, and you have a journey, a self-discovery journey, so to speak. You know, like there's these different ways that we cope with things as humans. And I think that it's moving away from the right and wrong, or for me, it was always the guilt and shame of letting others down, or by telling others, I'm not going to make it because I'm taking time for me.
Yeah.
Like, I felt so bad about doing that, so I wouldn't. And then I would find myself extremely irritable.
Yeah.
Sometimes even sick, and not knowing, why am I this way? Like, I don't get it.
So learning to say no is important.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard for us to, for some of us, it's hard to say no, because like some of us are programmed to always do something for other people, and then or you get invited to do this, you get invited to do that, and you say yes to everyone. You commit every invitation, you say yes, and then you end up worn out. Right? I mean, you're right. In some ways, it's learning how to say no in order for you to have time to recuperate and do stuff that are important for your own growth and rest. I mean, if we are rested, we're more effective if we have adequate rest. You know, if you're just exhausted, you know, then we're useless. And plus, helping others and doing stuff for others can be a form of addiction.
Yes.
Right? And like we're doing it, and we just like to keep doing it for the sake of doing it. And I guess if you do something good to the point that it hurts yourself or hurts your family or hurts other people, then you've gone overboard, right?
Same with isolation. Too much of being in your own mind, you know, and not being around other or contributing to other people can lead to, in a way, like a depression almost. Or maybe even depression, not almost, but depression. Or
like we talked about earlier, like sometimes we always, like, there are some people who you always think about other people's feelings, you know. Oh, I don't want to do this because I don't want to hurt their feelings, or I want to do this, or I want to say this because I want to try to lift them up. And you're always thinking about other people. And sometimes there come a point where you just want to be and just be whatever you feel. If you don't feel like doing something special or saying something,
you don't have to
extra. Don't have to. There's nothing wrong about that.
That's such a good point, because it's in a way of, it's like a reminder to me of like, we have the freedom and the flexibility to speak when we want, not speak when we want, choose to say no, choose to say yes, like, meaning we have choice, right? And I think sometimes it can be lost on us, where we can get so caught up in our moments and situations where we don't feel like we have a choice. Like, I was thinking the other day, my intention was to, I'm committed. Like, I'm committed in many ways where I have limited time, and I'm trying to create more spontaneous time. So that means that I have to say no to some commitments. And then I was like, all right, well, what commitments am I going to let go of? And I'm like, I don't want to let go of any of them.
Yeah.
So right, so it's like, well, you have a choice for each of these commitments on how you want to approach them. Like, okay, so if you're not going to let any of them go, then you have to accept that you're not going to be able to have time to be spontaneous because your day is committed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, so let's see when do my commitments expire? Like one of them is a book club. So we just finished this last week, and they were like, hey, we're starting another book and all this. And I'm like, I don't know that I can fulfill on that commitment. So just using that as an example.
Yeah, we have 100 episodes we have to record.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on number what?
Yeah.
Number 7?
8.
Number 8? Yeah. 8 down.
8 down.
92 to go.
Yep. Hey, I'm on for the ride.
Yeah.
So but it's the choice, right? It's like we always have that choice to say yes, to say no, to put ourselves first or to put someone else first. And situationally, I think it's worth weighing the cost benefit analysis. Is this more beneficial for me to take care of me now or someone else?
Yeah. I mean, you're right that this is a dance, there cannot be any hard and fast rules that you follow and dictate how you decide each day. It depends on how you feel and what the situation is.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the bottom line is if you're exhausted, you should rest.
Right.
If you're burnt out, you're entitled to just do nothing and just recharge. It's okay to recharge. It's okay to rest. I mean, we should rest and we should recharge. I mean, right? Yeah. I mean, it's nice to do stuff for other people, but you have to have enough reserves. You have to have something to give to be able to give, I guess, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So if we don't take care of ourselves, don't grow ourselves, and we have nothing to give, then we're useless. Right?
Got to remember that you're a human.
Yeah.
Not a robot.
But also the other thing is we have to be careful. Sometimes we do stuff for other people. We help other people because of ego, right? Because you're trying to inflate your own ego so you can say, oh, I'm helping others,
Right.
I'm doing all these things for all these people. I'm helping the poor. I'm helping the sick. I'm helping everybody. Everybody who needs me, I'm there,
Look at me, I'm helping.
Yeah. So that could be also a pride issue, so
Absolutely.
under the guise of helping. So we have to be careful about that as well.
Yeah. So it's not only the choice, but it's the why, the intention behind it.
The intention. What is your intention for helping?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good intention that turned bad because you like the attention so much that Chris is like giving
He's
up
beating
his
me
whole
again
life.
in pickleball.
Yeah. No, or like Chris is such a hero. He sacrificed his whole life and just donating all his time to serve the poor and the needy and everything. I mean, and then you just like the glory. It becomes a pride issue. It becomes an ego issue rather than the intent of truly helping.
That's a really interesting point. So, how does one go about managing their intention behind being by themselves or like to focus on self-love or to be of contribution to other people?
I guess the important thing is to always be self-aware, right? Because if we just keep doing things and do it day in, day out and never pause to even think about what you're doing, then sometimes you can completely miss the mark and just keep going in this wrong direction, and you keep going and going, and then to realize later on you're doing it for the wrong intention, right?
Yeah.
So it's always good to, I guess, pause every now and then and reflect, right? Or like if you're in a battle, it's good to pause and reassess your strategy, see if it's working or not, right?
Yeah, I think too, like, having a network of friends and people that are willing to, hey man,
call you out when
I noticed something, love you, but that was a little odd to me. You know, like that kind of thing is I think very powerful to give us the check us in a way that it's like I didn't realize it because I'm in it. I'm
Yeah.
emotionally involved.
Yeah, you're right.
But when it's a third party observer, it's like, oh, okay, well, thank you for that. Like, got it.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take a look.
Yeah.
You know, which to me is like very refreshing because
Yeah.
in the past for me, if I didn't have anyone that would do that, then what would happen is I would just continue to be in that until it's like
You're exhausted.
it's exhausting, but also it can ruin relationships.
Yeah.
It can ruin your identity in the marketplace. Like
Yeah.
your reputation means a lot. It takes a long time to build, but it's very quick to diminish it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, those things in the world around value creation, it's important to
Yeah.
preserve your identity.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and not to put like a lot of weight on that, but it's just like, cause you need to be you at the end of the day, I think. And learning how to be you unconditionally to me is like, that's the true value, because that's when you show up and everyone's like, wow, I really enjoyed being around that person. And it was like, they were just being themselves.
Yeah, but if being yourself is not a good thing, then that also needs to be modified, right? Like I mean, you and I, we have to admit we're both go, right?
Yeah.
And so that's being ourselves. So sometimes that's not good all the time. So my wife is very good at taming that. She would tell me, "Do you want to get Alzheimer's? Are you gonna sleep? You're not gonna sleep again? So okay, so soon you're gonna be demented, you know." Or the other way that she does it, she would start. So if I'm doing something good, she would start criticizing me, and then it's one way to like deflate my ego and say, "Okay, you can stop it. What you're doing is worth nothing." Then it makes me stop.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's I think that's her last resort.
I see. Yeah, and I think it's
Puncture that balloon, right? So that deflate it so that okay, then let's stop recording these podcasts. It's useless.
Yeah, well, it's I'd say like it's different for everybody, right? And that's the beauty in it. I think is like we all are unique and different in our own ways, and that is perfect. It's perfectly fine for that to be the way your wife quote unquote deflates your ego. I don't know the situation.
Well,
so
I would rather a loved one try to stop me than an illness stops me where I have no choice, right?
Right.
So like my wife would say, "Okay, you're gonna get a stroke if you don't sleep." Okay, I'm gonna go sleep now.
I mean, I think there's merit to that. So, but yeah, it's
whatever works, right?
That's right. It's beautiful.
She knows me enough to where you don't stop,
right? Because for me, that I move differently. Like that might not be effective for me. I might say, "Oh, really? I'm gonna stay up for the next 2 nights." You know, like so I'm the rebellious type. Like you challenge me, say less. I'm gonna
because you're young and dumb.
Right. Like and that's okay. Like it takes.
Once you hit 50,
it's different.
And you know that when you say heart attack and stroke, it sounds more real.
Right. Well, yeah.
When you're 30, it doesn't sound real, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah. But so I think it's different for everybody, and there's beauty in that. You know. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. No, but anyway, it's good. It's always, but I mean, we're talking here as if we're trying to convince people that it's not good to help others. So that's not the intent. In fact, the opposite is true. I guess our default setting should be to help others, right? Because I feel that that's what we're in this world for. I believe that we were not born to this world to just serve ourselves and make ourselves happy. I truly believe that we were all put in this world for a purpose. God gave us specific talents, not to just use to serve ourselves and make ourselves just happy.
Right.
Pleasure to pleasure ourselves. But I truly believe that we were all born in this world to serve God's purpose, and God's purpose obviously is to help all the people around us.
Use your gifts.
We have to be we have to be selfless. We have to think of ourselves. We shouldn't think less of ourselves, but we should think of ourselves less. Right? We should think of others more. I think that should be the default, but it's just the caution of not overdoing it, and make sure that we have we allot enough time for ourselves, because if we're not able to function, then we're of no use to anyone.
Right.
I guess that should be. I need to qualify that focus, because the initial part of this discussion, to some other people, it might sound like we're trying to convince them to think of ourselves more. But the modern culture, the emphasis in the media and in the discussions these days is more on self-love and self-care, which is important. But if that's going to be our primary focus, that's not good either.
Yeah, right? I think I have many things to share. Mm-hmm. First is, biologically, as a human, you are organized around survival, and we need help to survive. So by nature, by that very statement there, the logic of that is we need to coordinate thought and action with other people. And so because of that, we have to interact with people to get our needs met. Not like you're not out paving roads and building cars and building houses and farming so you can do your whole live your whole life. So we get help from other people to survive.
Yeah.
And I think God gives us gifts where we can contribute and help other people in different ways. And now in all of that, then you add in the context of the physical world, which is technology is advancing faster than we've ever seen it before, which is modifying how we have lived life. Like the standards that I think we still have standards of living in a way that, yes, we have nicer houses and prices go up and better quality food and things like that. But we I'd say live in like an older time frame, like from like the 80s or early 90s. But when you introduce the social media aspect or the digital aspect of life, like people are so engaged online that they're neglecting that social aspect of life. Yes, they are getting it met socially, digitally, but it's artificial. It's not real connection like you would have in person. So as by the logic of that, if you are not authentically connecting with people, you really need to connect with yourself, because you're missing that. You think you're getting this artificial need met, but it's not real. It's not true. But then when you feel that way, you have to cope with it somehow. So psychologically, learning who you are and how you cope with those things is where the self-love, I think, comes in. And so I speculate that's where a lot of the self-love conversation comes in. And to me, I think about, it would behoove you to learn yourself. You don't show up to Earth with a manual that's like, all right, this is how Chris works, and make sure you read page 47. It's like, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
We're discovering, we're becoming always, and we're modifying. And so there's tremendous value in knowing who you are, but also there's tremendous value in contributing to other people and knowing how, because you know yourself, contributes to the lives of other people.
Yeah. I think when you said about the human nature, the instinct is to survive, right? You said that.
Survive and reproduce.
Yeah, but the way I took that is that our natural instinct is to be selfish. Our human nature is to be selfish, is to watch out for ourselves. It's the So there's human nature and there's God nature, right? So our human nature, I think, is the default is to protect myself, protect my interests. I want my ice cream. I want my Doritos. I don't want to give this away. That's the default instinct of our human nature. It's because we have that God nature in us that's making us think, oh, maybe I should share this ice cream with somebody else. I think I tend to think more like that. That's the more natural thing. That it is more natural to be selfish, and it is more acquired character as we imbibe God's nature. That's when we start thinking of other people. That's how I think of the situation. And then with regards to the issue about the all the noise about self-love that you see on TV, in books. I mean, there's so much books on self-love and taking care of yourself and doing all these things. I think that may have come about because a lot of people are just sad and lonely.
Why?
There's a lot of depression that you see around us, you know, because of the way modern society is. You know, everybody is. I think people are more selfish, and then the end result is like, so if you have 10 different people in this community and everybody is just out looking for themselves, and nobody's helping each other or caring about each other, then everybody is collectively lonely now. Right? Because nobody's caring about each other. Everybody's just looking for their own interest. And then because now they're collectively lonely and depressed because they're not interacting or helping each other, now they focus on self-love, thinking that's the solution. So then people are looking for that happiness, or to fix their depression. They think maybe the solution is to look inside and see what I can do for myself. Maybe buy more material goods to make me happy. You know, this popular YOLO thing, you only live once kind of philosophy is pervasive, right? So people start thinking like that. Oh, you only live once. Then I should live a hedonistic life and just do everything just to make myself happy because I'm depressed anyway. But sometimes it begs the question, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Is it are there more people depressed because there is lack of self-love, or are people more depressed because there's too much self-love? When people don't care about each other anymore, like you live in a community where somebody's child is has fallen into addiction and the neighbors don't care and don't support, because there is joy in helping other people. There's a more profound joy when you do stuff for other people. Now, obviously, we've been qualifying that it's a dance. You don't want to overdo anything. Anything good that you overdo becomes bad, you know. But I think the basic issue is that there's more depression and loneliness because we don't care enough about other people, right? Like, for example, so I used to live in New York, and I described my experience there at one point as poverty in the midst of plenty. Because I would sit in the public park and there's so much noise, people singing, dancing. There's so many people around. It's crowded, and yet there are times I felt so alone because nobody establishes eye contact with you, nobody talks to you, and everybody's just busy in their own world.
Yeah.
And then one time I was in LA, and you go in Santa Monica, the streets there, they have stores, and you just walk down the streets, and the stores are like a strip mall.
Yeah.
You just walk and you just go into the store. It's not like a mall building. And then there are people doing magic tricks on one side, and music blasting here. It's like a festival. And yet you see, I saw like some people there just standing by themselves, just looking at the crowd, like people watching, and there were a few of them. You look them straight in their eyes, and they seem so lonely.
Yeah.
In the midst of all the noise and the carousing and everything, they seem so lonely, and they're just out there looking at people to make themselves feel better. But obviously, I don't know what they're going through. But there are a lot of people that I saw on the street that are just staring at nothing.
Yeah.
So it begs the question: is the prevalence of loneliness and depression because of lack of self-love, or because we are not loving other people enough?
I think it's a great question. What comes up for me is the introduction of the computer and the internet has produced a new space of thinking and acting that is so foreign.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example, and I say not that old. I'm using that as to bring some context in. When I was growing up, it was my mom would kick me out of the house, say, come back at dark. Go ride your bike, go do this, go do that, whatever. But don't be in the house. And now it's like, if you see a kid outside, it's like almost like, where's their parent?
Yeah.
So it's
completely
you're modified, right?
Yeah.
But I think the introduction of the computer and internet has allowed connection to, like, I could hire people from a different country. Yeah. Whereas in the past, if you didn't have that, you'd have to hire what was local. You had the newspaper, you had the phone book. Like, there's all these modifications. That's how we coped with life in a confined space, or like a city, so to speak. But when it's global now and everything is digital, to me, it's like this dilemma of, well, I don't want to get left behind. I want to produce in the digital world, so I need to engage and interact and learn the computer and all this. But then also, I grew up where there was connection socially, like being outside playing.
Yeah.
It's like I'd knock on my friend's door and be like, "Hey, can Grant come out and play?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, Grant's not even home. It's like, oh. And then I like go down the street to the next house and I knock, and it's not like that anymore. It's like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think the shift and the change has produced a difficulty in adapting and coping with that situation, especially with older populations, meaning there's been such a drastic change. It's been difficult to cope with. How do I contribute to people, but also how do I get that love for myself? Or there's so much going on and I don't know what the heck's going on. Yeah. It's almost futile to try and make attempts to figure this out because I don't know where to start. And then you have the kids that have grown up that they only know the phone.
Yeah.
It's like if you'd ask me like, hey, how would you motion that you're on the phone? I would say like this. But now kids say like this. And you're like, wait, I had no idea that was a thing. But that's because,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but you're right. I guess we're drifting a little bit on the topic on why people are lonelier and more depressed. So for example, connecting with people is one of the most important thing for us to feel alive, connecting, truly connecting with people. So But how do most of us connect these days?
Mm.
I know it's more convenient to text because so texting is a complex issue. Like you don't want to bother people because you don't want to just pick up the phone because they might be busy. So you would rather just text them,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, it's
And
so
then-
weird.
So you communicate by text because
Yeah.
you don't want to
Invade.
bother them, invade. And then, but text is so dangerous in a way because you can text the word, hey, I, or you can say for example, if I text you and say, hey, Chris, how was the ball game? Right? I mean, but that simple question can mean a lot of things, and I mean, there's no nuance to that statement, and so it depends on how you interpret what you think I sounded.
Or Terrence should have checked in with me about this other thing. Why is he asking me about the ball game?
Yeah, right. So if I talk to you in person, then you can see either whether I'm concerned or I'm just, you know,
You get the tones.
yeah, the tone,
intentions.
the nuances, and everything, and then you're able to connect more if we're talking
Right.
rather than when we text. And worse off is if you simply connect when people are just satisfied. I mean, text is a tool in addition to normal connecting with people, but if you use texting and social media as your main method of connecting, then it's gonna be deficient, right?
Mm.
Like sometimes when people are just satisfied with saying hi to you on Facebook, then you become very deficient because that's not real. You know, that's inadequate
Mm.
because there's I can't really call it true human connection because number one, you're limited by the number of words that you can text, although you can just dictate, right?
Yeah.
But it's weird to dictate because the spelling comes out wrong, and then you don't want to bother people like, what did you say? What was that word that didn't make sense? You don't want to ask that anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and so you just we just presume that that's what they meant,
Right.
you know. And then some people just do LOL, LMAO, you know, or they're just a thumbs up, and then that's the extent of the communication. And
Wow.
so I think it's we're becoming deficient in our human connection, you know.
Mm. Yeah.
So we're still starved with human connection, even if you text somebody every day,
Exactly.
right? Like
It's like being
like sometimes I could be texting someone every day and yet feel disconnected, right?
Yeah. It's powerful.
I mean, have you experienced that?
Oh yeah.
You can be texting somebody every day and still feel disconnected. It's like everything is you send a meme or you know, it's like okay, and then that counts. That
Right.
counts for connection.
Check the box. I
Yeah,
connect.
yeah, you're right. Exactly. It's like okay, I checked the box.
Yeah.
Oh, so I said hi to my kids by text. Okay, check the mark.
Mm.
No, I mean like a while ago, like my daughter called me. I mean that 1 minute conversation meant more than 1,000 texts.
Mm.
I get to hear her voice, see her face. You know, I mean that meant more than all these or social media liking on
Right.
Instagram. You know, it's just like
yeah.
that's not true connection, but better than no connection though.
Maybe.
But the problem is I guess the problem is not social media or text. The problem is if we become too satisfied or content with just communicating by social media and text, that's where the problem comes, right?
So this is a PSA to everybody: is to reconnect with others and what really matters.
Yeah.
Like that's ultimately I think where we're getting at is by serving other people, you find a sense of yourself. And also there's the selfishly altruistic and then altruistically selfish. Taking care of yourself allows you to contribute to other people, but contributing to other people and connecting with them genuinely, truly,
Right. You're
being
helping
in the
yourself.
presence of people, speaking, Like there was a period of time when I was in high school. I wouldn't really communicate much with my parents, and it was the strangest thing to me now that I look back and I think of who I am today versus who I was back then. I wouldn't really speak to my parents much, and I found that to be very strange. So in a way,
that's being young.
well, but what happens is
Young and dumb.
if my parents didn't really confront me about it, but what happens is I begin to be interested in things that they have no idea about because there's no connection.
Yeah.
And so then it's like you reconnect with your parents, and it's like they don't know who you are.
Or you feel they don't understand you because you disconnected with them.
Yes. And yeah, and
You
I think
live a totally different life.
correct. So
And then now you blame it on your parents for being old-fashioned.
Well, I wouldn't say it's my parents' fault at all. I'd say it takes two to tango.
Right.
So we're both responsible for it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I had to come to I had to get to a point where I was willing to re-engage and reconnect, so to speak, and be the one that initiates that.
Right, because as you became more mature and older and smarter, then you realize you need to change.
Yeah.
You know,
what am
you
I
realize that that's not the right way to do things. You know?
If I want to live by the words "honor thy mother and thy father,"
Right. No,
like for me, that means a lot.
No.
And it's been an interesting journey because I do love my parents a lot, but sometimes I found myself being very annoyed with them, and they weren't really doing anything other than being themselves.
Yeah, but that's okay though, because familiarity breeds contempt. You know, I mean, you tend to fight with your siblings and your parents because you're closer to each other and you're able to be more relaxed and less boundaries, and so that's natural, you know. And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right. So what I had to learn was reconnecting, or like contributing to them was okay, and it wasn't like a bad thing. And then also taking time away from them was also not a bad thing, even though my relationship with time away from them meant that it was no bid for connection.
Yeah, but that time away from them also taught you their value.
Yeah.
Sometimes distance makes a heart grow fonder. Not for another, but
right. Yeah.
Right? Sometimes distance. So if somebody is truly valuable to you, sometimes the distance makes you realize that. Like I would say, my kids, when they went to college, I saw a big change than when they were living with me. When they went to college, I felt like they appreciated me more.
Wow.
And they like calling home, and they like to come home during spring break and stuff. You know, sometimes just being away and let you see the world outside makes you realize what you had or what you have. You know, and you know, it's like sometimes ignoring someone makes them realize your value more, you know.
Yeah. And so to bring it back to the contribution piece, like of contributing to other people or taking time for ourselves, that dance of like what is the philosophy of that in the context of what really matters to us in life. And I truly think that when you genuinely connect with people, that like, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm like qualifying the connection, because to your point, like we could be talking every day and there be zero connection there.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think it's organizing that connection around what really matters. And sometimes that means having a hard conversation with someone, or like where you might not have said something to say something, or when you have said something, maybe to not say something this time. You know, like there's many dances that we can be in to contribute to other people, and also contribute to ourselves at the same time.
Yeah. And then at the beginning of this episode, we were talking about thinking of others. We were talking more in terms of serving, like doing something for others physically, but another aspect of thinking of others more and thinking of yourself less is, say, we talked about the connection part, right? So we say, like, there's a lot of people who are lonely, especially the elderly, you know,
Oh yeah.
when they're sick and they're not as mobile, and and thinking of others in that situation means reaching out to people who are needy, not needy in a bad way, but who needs company,
Connection.
right? So we have to be, so thinking of others is important, meaning we have to be more sensitive of the needs of other people, right?
Yeah.
When you see somebody who's depressed, they don't have to come up to you and say, hey, I'm depressed, I need help. We who are not depressed should be able to sense that somebody is struggling, and we should be able to think of others and put ourselves in their shoes. What would they need without
Right.
them having to ask for help, right? That's an aspect of thinking of others more, instead of sitting there thinking about myself more. Okay, what can I do to make myself happier today? What can I do to for me to have more fun? We should spend more time thinking of, okay, look at that guy over there. He seems a little bit quiet, or somebody who's normally bubbly, suddenly quiet. Like, what could he be thinking of? I mean, should we go say hi to him, right? Or somebody, like today, one of my patients, her husband passed away 2 years ago, and she's still grieving 2 years later. So she came to my office, and her GI issues that she came to see me for is very simple. That's a 2-minute visit. But I spent over 30 minutes with her because I could sense that she is still grieving deeply. I mean, she would talk about, her husband's clothes are still there, the shoes and stuff, and she hasn't gotten rid of her stuff. And then she would cry and then talk and then cry again. So I could tell that she made that appointment because she's just wanting to talk to me.
She's looking for some connection.
Yeah, just looking for somebody to talk to. But this was the same person who, when my daughter was very sick 13 years ago, she was one of those who ministered to me. So I owe it to her. I mean, I have some great patients who, like when my mother passed away, or when my daughter was very sick, then, I mean, they would comfort me, they would pray for me, and they would just talk to me. So the same way, we're just all human beings. We need to connect with each other. And so if you sense somebody is struggling, okay, it run me behind with my other patients, but you know what? I was able to help someone by just listening.
Yeah.
I just spent 30 minutes, 28 minutes, because 2 minutes was the medical part. I spent 28 minutes just listening to her talk about her husband who passed away 2 years ago. So that's me trying to think of others more and think of myself less.
Right.
Because if I was to think of myself more, I would say, okay, now I need to move on to the next patient,
Right.
Or somebody's gonna get mad at me, or I want to go home now. I have to meet Chris to record this podcast. I need to go now, But instead, I was trying to think more of her. So, like how you wish, like when you're the one who's feeling down or struggling, how you wish somebody would suddenly call you and say, "Hey,
Right.
Chris, how are
Check
you
in.
doing?"
Yeah.
Or checking on you and see what's going on, right? Or if you don't show up to a pickleball
Yeah.
day open play that you normally go to, I should have that sense of checking on you and say, "Hey, is everything okay?" So but sometimes it's important to I mean, we're almost afraid to visit people in their houses because we're so afraid to bother them.
Mm. Yeah,
We've lost that,
we have.
We're so afraid that we might bother people that we end up just not connecting at all.
Not at all. It's funny because when I was growing up, there were, it was like not weird to talk to random people.
Yeah.
It was not weird at all.
And it's also used to not be weird to pick up the phone and call you and say,
Yeah.
hey, how's it going?
Right. What's up, man?
Now it's like, it's almost an unspoken rule that I need to text you first before I call you.
I was just thinking about that.
Right?
Yeah. The other day.
I mean, where is the spontaneity where you can pick up the phone and call your friend and say, hey, what's up?
Yeah. Just thinking about you.
Yeah. Right? So now we're so apologetic even to just call someone.
It's so...
I just now thought about that.
So bizarre.
Right?
It's so bizarre. Yep.
And what has become of us, right?
It's... I think we are attempting to connect in a different way, but we're not connecting. But it's lost on us that we still have that choice to connect in that way.
Yeah, I guess if you're close enough as friends, you should not be worried about bothering them, right? Especially if you're just calling to say hi.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how it's supposed to be, but I don't know if it's practical or not, right? But I think expectations have changed in society over time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, that's sad.
It is.
Right?
It's got me thinking like, dang, there's like 11 people I need to go call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, actually, I was tempted to ask you about your opinion. So this is, have you read the book Tuesdays with Morrie? Okay, so Tuesdays with Morrie is one of the best books I've read. So this guy, Mitch Albom, is the author. So Mitch Albom, he's a sportscaster, and his professor had ALS, Lou Gehrig syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
So he was getting increasingly paralyzed and weaker. So Mitch Albom decided to reach out to his old professor and connect with him. And he spent 12 weeks with his professor. He visited him once a week, I think, for 12 weeks, and just sat down beside him and talked to him. And the book is all about the lessons that he learned from his old professor about life.
Wow.
He learned about life from his professor who was dying. So for 12 weeks, it's 12 chapters. He wrote about all the lessons.
Wow. That's bizarre.
It's an amazing book. You should read that.
Yeah. I'm
should
gonna
read
buy
that.
that.
So I mean, Mitch Albom's a great author. I mean, I have several of his books. But this was
Tuesdays
one of the
with Morrie.
Yeah, Tuesdays with Morrie. So his professor's name is Morrie. So every Tuesday he would go to see Professor Morrie.
Wow.
And his Morrie is sick and very weak and almost paralyzed, and he just sits by his bedside and watch him be sick and everything. And then whenever he's able to talk, they just talk. He spent the whole day just talking, and all the lessons about life.
Wow.
Remember, I think the first 2 episodes we talk about. I said something about if you want to determine how you want to live, you need to know how you want to be talked about when you're dead, right? So it's the same thing, because when you're dying, your perspective changes,
right?
And so to listen to a dying man talk about how to live is an amazing thing. That book's awesome. It's like a lot of the insight, your insights change. Like, so for example, if you were dying, a little misunderstanding or quarrel, not important.
Yeah, not worth your time.
Yeah, or why would I even worry about bothering you if I call you? If I'm dying, if I have one day to live, I'm gonna call you whether you think I'm bothering you or not, right? I mean, the way you behave really changes.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have finite time in this world, but we don't realize that,
Yes.
or we choose not to be aware of that. But that finite time is also undetermined.
Right.
It could be
Well,
one
we
day.
know
You
it's
could be
one-
healthy, but it could be one day.
Yeah. Car
It could be 1
accident.
year. You don't
Yeah.
know. So that's why we should live like we're dying. Right? It was who sang like Garth? Is it Garth Brooks or?
I don't know. I know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
though. I know the song. I just
Yeah.
don't know the singer.
Yeah.
But yes, it's interesting because our biology is always breaking down,
Yeah.
whether we know it or not. And yeah, we don't know how much time. Bob Proctor has a really good. It's about forgiveness. Is this talk he gave? But he had a friend that was same age as him, and he talks about his friend passing because he got in a car accident.
Yeah.
But he said if you had asked his friend, 30 minutes before he got in the car to go where he was going, how much time he had left in life, he was like,
Yeah.
I got the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so the whole point of that was to forgive yourself and to forgive others.
Yeah.
And in doing so, I think that opens up a new space to connect
Yeah.
and contribute to other people, but also to contribute to yourself, because that self-forgiveness is so powerful. Like, I remember listening to that. I don't remember exactly where I was, listening to that, like, okay, my mission in this moment is to forgive myself and to forgive others around me and to just accept them for who they are and to connect with them.
Yeah. And sometimes, so same thing, forgiving others makes you actually feel better, right? Same in the same token, helping others is also helping yourself, right?
Mhm.
When you do something for others, you actually, that's why I said earlier, it's a selfish thing because it makes you happy when you help someone.
Right.
So we have to be careful about not focusing on just the making me happy. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a selfish
Yeah, the
thing that you
hedonistic
do, but it's a good thing,
Yeah.
But back to that topic about we don't know how much time we all have left. That's why it's important to spend our life thinking more of others, right? Because although self-care is important, like I said earlier, I believe that the purpose of our birth is not for ourselves. We came to this world with nothing. We didn't bring anything to this world to deserve the world giving us something. I mean, we don't, nobody owes us anything.
Right.
I didn't bring anything to this world. I came to this world naked and nothing.
Right.
So I didn't bring anything to this world. The world doesn't owe me anything. And I also was put in this world. I mean, why would God, think about it, why would God put me in this world for me to just do everything to benefit myself? So when I die, I have benefited more out of this world than I saw it. It doesn't make sense, right? So God must have had a purpose to bring you and me to this world, right?
Absolutely.
Can you think about it? Why would God create Chris and say, Chris, okay, go to Earth and make the most out of it, and when you die, come back and be happier because you ate enough Doritos and ate enough ice cream. It doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
It makes more sense for God to say, hey, let me create Chris. So Chris, I'm going to make Chris a kind soul, good speaker, and loving heart. And I think I need him to help Matt, a guy called Matt.
Right.
Right? Maybe because because God said, okay, I will let Matt go through something, and I need Chris to help him out while I'm letting Matt learn his lesson, right?
Man.
That makes more sense, right? So that's why I believe that the purpose of our birth is not for ourselves. Because why would it be?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we also, so to qualify it, we also have to have enough self-care and self-love to where we are able to serve God and fulfill our purpose.
Yeah.
Because if you don't eat or drink, then you'll be hungry and dehydrated, then you can't go help Matt.
Right.
I think that's, I
It's
think
like
I have
you-
gained
you-
more clarity like that.
You take care of yourself so that
So that you
take
can
care of
help
others.
Others.
Yeah.
I mean, let me put it this way. You have to take care of yourself enough to the point where you're able to fulfill your purpose of
Right.
helping others, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a good way of putting it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because
it makes
my
me-
question at the beginning is, where do you draw the line? Like, for the sake of the audience, I didn't know the answer. I was just asking. I was truly asking Chris
Yeah.
because I was trying to figure out what the answer is. And I think as we're discussing this, I think I've gained more clarity here. Is that right? If you should care and love yourself enough to enrich yourself enough to where you have the ability to fulfill your purpose of serving others.
Yeah.
But our main purpose in this life is to be a man for others, right?
I think so. And the oh man, so I'll share a story that there's a good story that I'll share with you in a second. But Matthew 5:14 says, "City set on a hill cannot be hidden."
Mm-hmm.
And this was an interpretation that was given to me, which was the message read, "Keep your light on. You have no idea how the world is affected by your illumination."
Yeah.
And I love that because if you knew who you would contribute to every time, all the time, it would be boring, I think. Because
Yeah.
it's like, it's so predictable. Oh, I got to go help Terrence today. It's like, I don't know if I'm going to help, who I'm going to help today.
Yeah.
But guess what? I'm spirit-led. God's taking me, and I may impact a homeless person today. I have no idea. So we're out eating after we did the podcast like a few weeks ago. And this lady comes up to the table and says, "Are you Chris?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Oh, yeah.
She said, "I just love your family." And I said, "Oh, what? Why? Like, what had you come say that to me?" She said, when we were in daycare, your mom would stay with me after daycare until my mom came to pick me up because my mom was always late. No idea. I had no idea my mom did that. I had no idea that impacted her and made an imprint on her life, right? So then I bring it up to my mom. "Hey, Mom, just want to shout you out. Like, you have an impact in the world, and you might not even know it." She's like, "What are we talking about?" I said, "Well, this lady came up to me and just told her story." And she said, I didn't even realize I did that. But I was like, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
How imagine if my mom had the worst day ever. She was so selfish. She's like, "I just need to get these kids and get them home." That she couldn't take time to take care of this other lady, right? So by taking care of ourselves, it opens up a space for the opportunity to contribute to other people. Yeah. And the beauty in that is we don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah.
But I think that's the beauty of taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Is because if you take care of yourself, you can always be an opportunity to help others. Yeah. But if you're not taking care of yourself, you kind of like rob yourself of that contribution.
Yeah.
But
I also want to nuance that though.
Please.
Yes, we need to take care of ourselves so we can take care of other people. But I want to nuance that in saying that true love and true service require sacrifice. Right? Okay, for example, I mean, this is just, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, okay? I'm just saying. So remember how many, I've listened to a few of our episodes, and I found myself like maybe 3 episodes, I said, "Hey, Chris, I had 2 hours of sleep."
Yeah.
Right? And we're still doing this. Like, okay, I'm not. I mean, I'm telling you the truth. I really, those days that we recorded, I really had just 2 hours of sleep or 3 hours of sleep, and I was tired. But I said we're committed to do this podcast, and we know why we're doing this, and I'm gonna do it. So, even though we need to have self-love, in the sense that, okay, I need to sleep. I should say no to Chris and we should not record tonight because I had 2 hours of sleep. But sometimes if I'm still able to push it a little bit, service requires sacrifice. Like when a mother loves a child or a father loves a child, there's sacrifice, right? So like I have kids. Sometimes I don't feel like working, but I have to work extra because I need to pay for college, I need to pay for food, I need to pay for whatever, right? I mean, it requires sacrifice. So when I'm all about self-love, when I'm tired, I'm just gonna lay down and sleep and take a nap. But there are times where when you love someone enough that you have to give something up. Like for example, if I have a friend who is having financial issues, like I've given somebody a few $100s because they were struggling. I mean, that few $100s is hard-earned money,
Right.
you know. And I also have expenses. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I make a good living, but I also have a good amount of expenses,
Of course.
right?
Yeah.
So then helping somebody out like that is also sacrifice. But then if you're all about self-care first before you help others, then you wouldn't do it.
Right.
Oh, because I have to have enough money so I can go watch a movie and eat at a nice restaurant because I worked hard for this money. Why would I give up this few $100s for this guy? Well, that's his problem. If he didn't have enough money, if you would think like that, you'll never be happy and you'll never fulfill your purpose in life, right?
That's why I think tithing is so important.
Yeah.
It's like, in a way, it's like God calling us to tithe is in a way building a skill of giving.
Yeah, or having a mindset of giving, or having a mindset of thinking of others.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of examples where it requires sacrifice. Like I mean, I have a lot of people who sacrifice for me. You know, sometimes they're busy in their with their own family and household, but there are times where I needed help. People put their family on hold to come help me. Well, if you say, "Oh, self-love first," then I need to take care of my family first before I go help somebody else. But if somebody is in dire need of help, your family can wait. It's just weighing where.
It's a dance.
Do I have the ability to put my family on hold for a second, and I'm not gonna hurt them tremendously, but I can help somebody who's in dire need, you know? I mean, it's weighing whether you have the ability. And like the Bible says, if it's within your power to help, do not deprive people of that help, right? If it's within your power to help, do not withhold. I think that's what the Bible said, you know, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'm not like Bible thumping. I mean, it makes sense. That teaching makes sense, right? If it's within your power to help, do not withhold it. Meaning your family can wait a little bit. It's not gonna hurt them much, but somebody needs help more, right? So it's like somebody drowning and you jump into the water to save them. Well, you put yourself at risk of drowning as you're helping somebody who's drowning.
Yeah.
But that's why love requires sacrifice. And so it cannot be all self-love first before I help others, right? It cannot be a condition, because sometimes you have to give up a part of yourself in order to help other people. But that's what love is, right? I mean, if you only give what what is in excess, then that's really not love, right?
Right.
It's like that.
It's only convenient, you know.
Yeah, yeah. It's easy. It's like that parable where Jesus was talking about that lady who gave her last penny, as opposed to the guy who just gave part of his belonging, right? So the lady who gave her last penny to somebody in need showed more love, right? Because that's all she's got to live on, and she gave it away.
Yeah.
So that's why my conclusion from this discussion is that it cannot be self-love first before you should love others, right? Because that's not what God taught, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like okay, so like in my clinical practice, it's one of my principles that if I see a patient and I enter the room and somebody needs help, I don't look at my watch. If somebody needs help, even if they're just trying to talk to me about something even unrelated to what they're paying me for, if somebody needs help, I don't walk away from them. That's my rule. I told you about this lady who was crying because she was distressed because she cheated on her husband.
Oh yeah.
And she just had acid reflux, which took 2 minutes to take care of, but she spent another 20 plus minutes, but I took time and listened. Anyway, so I tend to do that. And so God has never failed me except one time. Did I tell you this story already? Okay, God has never failed me except one time. Okay. So every time I spend time with somebody who needs help, when I come out of the room, I may have 3 people waiting on me, waiting more than an hour for me. They're all very understanding, and they're just kind, and they know that I'm helping someone, and I'm not just sitting around eating my lunch. So every time it's been like that. So I built a sense of confidence in God that I just have to do what God called me to do, and I'll be fine. So one day I did the same thing and expected the same thing. God failed me that time. Or at least I thought God failed me. So I went to the next room, next patient, and I got chewed out. Inside out, left-sided, right-sided. It just chewed me out completely for making her wait.
Oh gosh.
But she waited because I spent a lot of time with that patient before her who needed my help. And so after that, after I got chewed out and I felt horrible, I have to admit it, I felt betrayed by God. So I was praying after that. After the clinic was over, I was praying. I was saying, Lord, why did you do that? You never failed me till this time. Nobody's ever gotten mad at me when I trying to serve you and trying to help someone. And then suddenly I felt God speak to me, and God said, if there is no risk in loving me, in serving me, if there is no risk in serving me, where is the love? Wow. So I never forgot that. I mean, this is real. I didn't make this up. I'm not that smart to say that. But I was questioning God. Why did you let this patient get mad at me? I was serving you. I was trying to help this patient before her. And I said, Lord, you knew I spent extra time with this patient because she needed me. And then you let this next patient chew me out. So God said, if there is no risk in serving me, where is the love?
Wow. Man, that's so good.
So then I just stopped questioning God. God has a way of shutting me up.
Yeah. I think it's all of us in our own ways, and it's funny when we start asking, at least this is my experience, when I started asking God to show me things and to
he'll show you.
He'll bring it up and I'm like, oh, I don't like that, about myself. But at the same time, it's that's a way of God showing us love. Is
Yeah.
that's how we grow as humans, to deepen the connections we have, to
Yeah.
have more love in our heart, to
Yeah.
serve others, because it's like we never know what someone else is going through,
Right.
but to have a heart that is full of love to give can help overcome these different situations, like the patient chewing you out.
Yeah.
If you didn't have all the experience that you had, you might have chewed her back out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like,
Right.
you know,
Right.
like we never know what people have going on, but
Yeah.
the depth of our heart and what we're exposed to creates that love that we can then show other people.
Yeah.
And I think we all have it. I think it's a matter of tapping into it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not being so caught up in, you know, I need to get right before I can go contribute.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah, but that's why. In the same way, it's like saying if there is no sacrifice in serving someone, where is the love, right?
yeah,
So remember when my car broke down and my friend came and helped me. I would have never felt love if I didn't. I mean, I would not have experienced the profound love of that action of helping me get my car battery taken care of if I didn't know that he had to give up picking up his child. He had to have somebody else pick up his child so he can help me fix my car. It's that sacrifice that showed me, wow, that was love. I felt love. Right?
right.
So,
And it's like that the energy when they showed up too,
yeah,
right? It's like, it wasn't like I guess I'll help.
yeah,
You know, it's like a contribution
Right.
that was without like saying you owe me.
yeah. It's like the parable that Jesus said about that lady who gave her last penny to the donation box, right? So it's like if I have $10,000 just sitting in my bank account, and you needed help, and I gave you $20 begrudgingly, or I can't say, oh, I did a big deed for Chris. I gave him $20 because I have $10,000 in my bank account. But for somebody, for example, who has only $20 and gives you the
20.
entire 20,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the comparison is very
not the same.
obvious.
Yeah.
The person who gave you everything they've got had more love than the guy who just gave you the excess that he has, right?
Yeah.
So,
Man, it's powerful.
yeah, so that's why. So I have this other example. So the Apostle James, you know, I read this in the Bible, and it struck me at that time. So the Apostle James has a limp, and so he would go out and heal people as Jesus had commanded him. And then somebody approached him, and they asked him, "Why are you out there helping heal people when you yourself are sick and you're paralyzed on one leg?" Right? So people on the surface would say, "You yourself were not healed by God. Why would you go out there and heal other people?" Right? And so when I don't remember what part, but I think somebody was telling James, then it's more impactful that I see somebody who himself is sick and not caring about his own illness, but going out there trying to heal other people. It's the same thing if I'm struggling with my own depression and stuff, and yet despite my own depression, I go out there and try to cheer somebody up. Right? It's the same equivalent, right?
It's relatable.
Yeah. So it's more impactful, right? It's more significant. Like, so sometimes if we don't care about our own hurts and we help the hurting, then that, I'm sure God will look upon that favorably.
It's a show of faith.
Right. And it's a show of love for others and love for God, right? Because despite my own suffering, I'm willing to put that aside for a moment,
right,
and help somebody else, right? So that's why we have to have that clarity again, that thinking of others should not be predicated upon me being completely whole before I should help others, right? And although we should care for ourselves enough to where we are able to help others, for as long as we are able to, if it's within our power to help, we should not withhold it, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to draw the line.
Yeah.
If it's within our power to help, we should not withhold help.
I love it.
Right?
And even if it makes you feel uncomfortable to help, I think we still should.
Right. So if it's not within your power, that means you're overly exhausted, right? Then you need to go sleep.
Yeah. Take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself, right?
Yeah.
But if it's within your power, that means you still have it in you. You should not withhold any ounce of energy that's left in you.
Man.
So if I have 2 hours of sleep, I should push further. Maybe 1 hour, I should probably, postpone the recording. But 2 hours, I should not complain. So I feel embarrassed now because I was listening to our previous episodes, and I think I mentioned there were 3 episodes where I had 2 hours of sleep, and I kept saying I had 2 hours of sleep.
Yeah. Well,
the last episode I sounded pretty bad. I was really sick the last episode.
Yeah, you were a little.
I just
nasally, but
I just recovered from the flu and everything. I was really sick. I sounded sick, but
yeah,
it's still within my power.
That's it.
So I cannot quit.
Couldn't withhold.
Yeah.
Well, that's the end of this episode, and we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Like, comment, and subscribe. Tell us if you enjoyed it. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for those that have contributed to share with us feedback. It's been very helpful, and also we talk about podcasts and stuff, so thank you guys.
Yeah, and your feedback is our fuel.
Yes.
To give us the energy to do another episode.
Yeah, and if you have any ideas of conversations we could have or interesting topics you'd like to hear us talk about, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, give us some ideas because we're running out of ideas.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
So thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you again. So like, subscribe, and share with your friends. See, I'm getting better at it.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thank you.